Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss Divalvis, your principal here at WUVA, the Washington Unified Virtual Academy. I wanted to talk to you today about some changes in our schedules that are starting today, Wednesday, January 5th. All right, so for our sixth graders, here is your new daily schedule. So your daily schedule now for all sixth, seventh, and eighth graders will have PE for first period still, except for it's going to be from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Okay, PE is going to have a combination of PE and VAPA, but it is going to be asynchronous still. So you're not logging on to a live class with a live teacher, but there will be assignments posted in your period one Google Classroom. Now, here is the difference. PE starting now in quarter three, two things are going to be different. The first thing that's different is that attendance will be taken between 8 and 9 o'clock. So you need to click on the sign-in form and do that between 8 and 9 o'clock each morning to be marked present. The second thing that is different is that PE and VAPA will now be graded on your assignments that you complete. So not just clicking turn in, there will be actual assignments for reflections or questions that you have to answer or things that you need to do to be able to get your grade for PE and VAPA. So that is from 8 to 9 o'clock. The biggest change is that your first live class in period two will start at 9 o'clock each morning. So PE is a little bit longer now because it's now PE and VAPA, and you will start period two at 9 o'clock. For sixth graders, this is math, and it will be with Mrs. Coven. Mrs. Coven is going to be the teacher for you all day. That's the biggest change for our sixth graders, is they will have one teacher all day long. Ms. Coven will be your math, science, ELA, and your history teacher. So you'll spend all day with her. Now, there are only 6 periods in your schedule, sixth graders, seventh graders, and eighth graders. So period 2 is math. Period 3 is science. Period 4 is advisory. This is a new period, and your teachers are going to go over the expectations for this period. This is a mandatory period for attendance. You need to show up to your advisory period. Some of our students, their advisory teacher might be their sixth grade teacher, their seventh grade teacher, or eighth grade teacher, or it might be your ELD or your study skills teacher for RSP. So you'll check your Google Classroom and see which teacher you need to go to for advisory. The advisory period on most days is 40 minutes. Now, this is time for the teachers to check in with students, to check your grades, see how you're doing, to teach some life skills, some social emotional skills, some class bonding, things like that. So advisory happens each day before an asynchronous study skills period. Now, this period is not actually on your master schedule. We will not be taking attendance for it like we were doing for the first half of the year. For a half hour each day, you have this study skills asynchronous time to get your work done for your other classes, for your math, science, English, or history, or even for your PE and VAPA now that that's graded. There's no attendance for that period, no signing in, no class link, no grades. It is just 30 minutes for you to be able to get your work done for either the classes you just attended or the classes you will be going to later in the day. Then you have lunch. Now, the other change we've made is lunch is a 45-minute lunch period for all of our students. So you have 45 minutes connected to that study skills, so that half-hour study skills. So really, it's an hour and 15 minutes for you to be able to work on classwork asynchronously on or off the computer, as well as have your lunch. And then you'll go to period 5 and period 6. For our sixth graders, period 5 is ELA, and then period 6 is history. But like I said, you'll be with Ms. Coven for all of that, and that goes till 2:30. One of the other changes for Wednesdays is that class will actually be getting out at 1:20. The last 10 minutes being an asynchronous time for you to wrap up any assignments you need to do, click on any turning in, doing anything that you mentioned during advisory that you might need to get done. So for sixth graders, as I mentioned, here are the key points. Period 1 is asynchronous. This is true for sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. Attendance is taken between 8 and 9, and you will be graded on your work completion in that PE period. Our live classes start at 9 a.m., and your core classes for sixth graders will be with the same self-contained teacher, Mrs. Coven, the whole day, but it will be the same bell schedule as our seventh and eighth grade students. Your advisory period is now fourth period. This is taking the place of when, the what I need period. And you will now be taught by your core teachers or ELD and RSP or your study skills teacher. And then right after advisory for students is a 30-minute work period where you're able to work asynchronously on assignments. There's no attendance, no grading. Now, 7th and 8th graders, I know you've been listening this whole time. Your schedule is very, very similar to the 6th graders with a couple of exceptions. So 7th and 8th graders, we'll start with the 7th grade schedule. Same thing, 8 to 9 o'clock PE. Attendance is taken between 8 and 9. You will be graded. You will start live instruction at 9 a.m. each morning. And 7th graders, you will start with your ELA and history teacher. And for the next couple of days, that's going to be Mr. Contino, and then we'll be ready to announce your new ELA and history teacher very shortly. You will then stay in your advisory period with either a 7th grade teacher, or you'll go to ELD or RSP or study skills, whatever you're needed. And then that asynchronous study skills. So everything else is the same. 7th graders, your day, though, looks like PE, period 2, ELA, history, and then after lunch, your 45-minute lunch, you will go to Mrs. Voss for your math and science to end your day. Okay? Now, 8th graders, very, very similar to 7th graders, just flip-flopped. You are going to start your day in math and science with Mrs. Voss after you do your asynchronous PE from 8 to 9. So you're with Mrs. Voss all the way up to lunchtime with your advisory, unless you go off to ELD or your study skills with your RSP teacher. And then everyone has this 30 minutes of study skills, and everyone has that 45 minutes of lunch. And then after lunch, you will go to your 8th grade ELA and history class, which for this week will be Mr. Contino. And then we'll let you know who that ELA and history teacher will be for 7th and 8th grade very shortly. Same thing for 7th and 8th graders. Wednesday gets out at 1:20, but there's still that 30, on Wednesdays, it's a 20-minute advisory with a 30-minute study skills, that 45-minute lunch. All of those changes stay the same. So here are the key things for 7th and 8th graders to know. Period 1, asynchronous PE and VAPA. It'll be 60 minutes instead of 30 because you're getting both PE and VAPA throughout the week. Attendance will be taken through the sign-in, which you will do between 8 and 9 o'clock in order to be marked present. You will be graded on your weekly work completion, so you will have a grade in the grade book for PE, which is different than quarter 1 and 2. Your live classes start at 9 a.m. for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in your period 2. So 7th graders this week, you'll be with Mr. Contino at 9 a.m. 8th graders, you'll be with Mrs. Voss. Okay, and then flip-flop. 8th graders go to Mr. Contino, and 7th graders go to Miss Voss. Then your core classes, you have 2 core teachers now that you will spend your day with, just like before, but now you're spending more time with them. Advisory is taking the place of when. It is period 4, right before your study skills and lunch. It will be taught by one of the core teachers or your ELD and RSP teacher. So look for that Google Classroom tomorrow or today. And then study skills is right after period 4. It's when you're working asynchronously. There's no attendance and no grades. Okay, so we are excited about this change. So you're going from a 9-period day to a 6-period day, getting to do more work inside your core classes with your 2 core teachers or your 1 core teacher if you are 6th graders, and getting some PE and VAPA to start your day off. Please be sure to log in for attendance for PE, and the rest of your day are live sessions with teachers. So if it is a period from period 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of those you need to log in live for live instruction with your teacher for attendance and doing your classwork. All right, have a great day, WUVA Wolves.